Winter is here. We have moved into December, and if you're like me in a similar part of the world that I'm in, the days are continuing to get darker, colder, and it's this time of year. It's this time of year that can really be challenging. And that's frustrating, right? That's frustrating because at the same time we're moving into the holidays. And with the holidays, there's this energy of joy, this very bright, shining energy. And it's this really interesting time of year where there's this sort of disconnect or polarity between, on the one hand, the our society sort of pushing us to be in this very outward joyful energy, and within you there is a good chance that at some point during the season, what's really going to be alive for you is this need to really look inward in a way that isn't joyful, that isn't light filled, but is darker, heavier, uncomfortable. And today I really want to focus our attention on this topic, that is how it is that we can look into those dark places in a way that does bring more grace. Maybe doesn't make that experience so crunchy, so difficult to be in. So that's where we're going. That's where we're going to go in today. And we're going to focus our whole time here. And if you're, like getting ready to turn off that camera because you're like, oh, I don't want to go there. Like, don't bring this into my space, Katie. I hear you. One thing before you go. Just hear me out real quick, and then, go do whatever you need to do. It's very true. It's very true that this time of year for you might be totally light filled. You might be totally swept away in the joy, the community of the season. And that's beautiful. And if that's your experience and you don't want to bring any darkness into it, by all means, turn off this video. Come back at another time when maybe it is an appropriate time in your life. And also, right? And also, again, in this, is there maybe something, and this may be true, this may not be true, but is there something here are you running away from this conversation because you really, like, it is your truth, you really do need to get away from it so that you can keep that light full in your life that's really your truth that you can stand in right now? Or are you running away from this conversation because maybe you're afraid, or there's part of you that doesn't want to go here? Maybe there's a battle or a rub that you're fighting yourself, right? This internal battle because you want your holiday season, your winter season to be more joyful, light-filled, but there's something here and it's crunchy and you just don't want to look at it. If that's the case, this invitation here to stick around, see what's here for you. You might just find that there is a great gift in being here for this conversation. So, moving into this conversation here. I always do this, right? This is the practice I teach. We're slowing down. We're slowing down, not checking out. We're not checking out of this video. We're slowing down. I invite you to Find your feet on the floor, your seat in a chair. Find your breath. Take a few breaths down in your body, a few grounding breaths. And as you're here, don't worry, this is just a YouTube video, right? We're not going anywhere too intense here. What we're gonna do is sort of start to peek in, right? Peek into a window of like what might be here. And then after this, I'm going to give you some options for ways that you can deepen into this practice. If you find something that is worth deepening into, if you find something that speaks to you in a way that's, revealing itself to be, yes, this is something that you are going to need to be, or maybe wanting to be spending some time with. So going back to our practice space here, we're grounding into our bodies, creating space in this present moment. Shutting down your eyes if that feels comfortable, only if that feels comfortable. Shutting down our eyes helps us to go inward. But sometimes, when we're going into things that are a little bit darker, maybe even scarier, that closing the eyes becomes too much. So only closing down your eyes if it feels comfortable. And we're going to start with this very simple practice that is asking. We're going to do 2 asks. The first, what is alive in this present moment? Okay, so we're not even to the holidays yet. I'm posting this video here at the beginning of December. Maybe you're watching it now, maybe you're watching it in the next week or 2, but still leading up to the holidays. A moment here to ask yourself, what's alive in this present moment? Is there anything in your internal landscape that's in this moment asking to be seen, to be felt, to be heard, known, otherwise acknowledged? And we're staying grounded, right? Staying in those sensations in the bottom of your feet, your seat in the chair, right? We're just slowly dipping our toe into this space. If you find that there's anything here that is pulling you away, or you find that there's something maybe in some other part of you that's, telling you right now to run away, just really returning to your grounding, your present centered awareness here at this point in space and time. We're just here hanging out, feet planted on the floor. Once again, turning into that internal landscape. Asking again, or maybe you've been here the whole time, like, what's alive in this space that wants your attention? Maybe something you haven't been willing to give your attention to. You can just ease it in. We're not diving in head first here. It's just an opening, a gentle opening of a door, holding some curiosity, like what's here? You might find that there's something here that wants your attention in this moment. Maybe something that you've been pushing away for a little while because it's inconvenient and you don't want to deal with it. Right now we're just given some space, making no promises, just giving whatever wants to speak up just a little bit of our attention. Just a little bit of a, yeah, I see you. I see you. I feel you. I hear you. I know you're there. then just taking a step back and feeling into the sensations in the soles of your feet, feeling your seat in a chair, taking a few breaths. If you need to, maybe shaking it out a little bit. We're going to do one more practice. Same idea, just, gently opening some doors, peering in, being here willing to listen. This time we're going to ask, is there anything present with this holiday season? Something coming up here in the near future, something we know that is going to present itself as soon as we really step into this holiday season. Is there anything here that wants some attention right now? That wants your conscious awareness? And again, no need to go all in. We don't need to dive in with our full consciousness into this thing. But maybe again, just that opening a window to look out at what's here. Anything to be seen, to be felt, to be known, heard, otherwise. Hold our consciousness. Anything that might be coming your way this holiday season that you're holding some awareness for, that is going to possibly present itself as that difficult, constrictive, maybe activating, darker sort of situation. It's the kind of situation that makes us want to run away from. But here in this moment, just very simply bringing some conscious attention to this thing. And making no promises. We don't need to make any promises about how we are going to work with this. Just bringing some conscious awareness to it. And when you're ready, again, stepping back out, stepping away from it, coming back to the physical sensations in the soles of your feet, your seat in a chair, your breath. Let's move into some conversation here. There's, practices like this one. What to say here? There's a lot here, right? There's possibly a lot here. You may find yourself running away from these sorts of things. You may find yourself very strongly getting pulled in, right? Maybe you go to crack open the window and you're just immediately pulled into it, and you're, getting taken over by emotion and story, and maybe you long ago shut off the YouTube video and you're gone and you're no longer here, part of this conversation. Or maybe you were really able to stay with me through this, to really just wade into this thing, wade into this difficult experience and see something, feel something, otherwise start to hold a knowing of a something, that there's something here within you. There's a situation that you kind of know is on your horizon, is going to present itself. Something here that you have an opportunity now to work with. Whether that opportunity is something you're really welcoming in, or whether that opportunity is something you're like, do I have to? Okay, fine, I'm here. There's all different flavors of how we walk into these sorts of experience. So just some space here. It's just some space here to hold at a distance. Like we don't have to bring our consciousness into the thing, but maybe just hold at a little bit of a distance. Like, yes, I see you, I hear you, I've felt you, and I know that there is some work for us to do in these upcoming weeks. And I want to give you some tools, some options for how you may want to work with that. Number one, simply being this very practice here that I just walked you through, right? Very simple practice that is a slow opening of a window, right? A slow opening of your consciousness to this thing. And like, we're here on a YouTube video, I'm just someone on the internet, right? We don't have that like real relationship where I'm here to be able to give you a practice to really work through it. So know that, own that, this isn't a space, an invitation that I'm going to be inviting you into really working through some dark, heavy, difficult stuff, right? Like maybe that's where your path is going, but just knowing that this conversation here isn't a how-to on necessarily how to do that. I'm going to give you an option to, like, if you want to do that with me, let's step into a separate space. But here, we're just here on a YouTube video, with that, this practice, this simple practice, this continued slow opening, right? Slow opening to what's here to be felt, to be seen, to be known. This tiptoeing in as you continue to do so from this grounded space where at any moment, you might feel that something starts to be a little bit too much and you're able to pull back. Again, to find your feet on the floor, to find your breath, to cut off the practice, go walk away if you need to. Can really a lot here, but I want to have this conversation. And I know that people kind of shy away from having these sorts of conversations in these difficult, dark places. And I think that does the world a disservice to make this a, dealing with those dark, heavier, crunchier things can only happen in a specific concept or in a specific context, in a specific space, in a very specific professional relationship. And of course, those spaces are beautiful and very useful and important to find when needed. And also there is this opening that has to happen in our world right now for us to be able and willing to look into dark places. Because I don't know if you guys have noticed. I don't know if you guys have noticed this. Just kidding. I know you've noticed this. Our world is in a very dark place right now. Our world is in a very dark place right now. And the way that darkness continues to spread isn't by looking at it, but it's by pushing it away, by saying, oh no, that dark part of you, that only belongs in this very, professional setting where everything's hushed and we're going to give it a mental illness label or whatever, maybe not even that far, but some sort of label. And like, no, again, those spaces are so important. Those spaces are so important, but there has to be this opening, this willingness to open to those dark aspects of self alive in every single one of us. really taking a moment to let that sink in. These dark spaces that are alive in all of us, and this willingness to be able to put our attention in these spaces, bring our consciousness to these spaces in a safe way, right? In a way where we're not just jumping back into a trauma or continuously activating ourselves over and over again, right? That's not the most skillful way to do this. Walking through a way where we are able to stay grounded, stay present, open the door to what is here that is asking to be seen, that is asking for your attention. Once again, bringing this back to this time of year and this quite common, right? Quite common experience that is a frustration, a deep frustration around what this time of year is supposed to be by what society has set it up to be and what it might actually be. And if you're still here with me in this conversation, we've been through this practice. If you're still here, then I'm going to make the assumption that this is on some level true for you. Whether you're in a deep place of grief or some other pain, or maybe it's just one part, maybe you're all about the holidays and like things, are overall probably going to be pretty great. But there's this one thing here and you're like, I want to be able to work with this with as much skill as possible. So I gave you that practice, right? I gave you that practice that you can work with this space again, tiptoeing in, just this like gentle opening of the door. And once you're there, it's really, really a practice of being witness to, of allowing, what's here to be seen, to be known, to be felt, to be heard. How much can I hold in any particular moment while staying grounded, while staying present with what's here, and being in this curiosity? What is it about what's here? Is there something to be released, to be moved? And this is the part of the conversation where we really start to ask the question of how to work with what arises, which starts to really move on into a different scope of practice. And if you're here and you're really finding yourself in a space that's like, there's something here to really work with, my invitation to you is really, unless you have other resources, maybe you do have other resources and you can go in that direction, and or reach out to me, set up a connection call, let's have a conversation. Let's see if maybe there in that 20 minutes I can give you something that you can take with you and really start to work with this. Maybe there's a way that I can help support you more deeply. The other direction I want to point you towards is this new workshop that I have. It's a workshop that isn't focused on shadow work, right? It's not focused on looking into dark places. It's actually a workshop where we really spend a lot of time with the foundational practice that is finding your grounding and creating space. Finding your grounding in your body at any point in time and creating space. And it's from that space that, in that workshop, I'll take you in a bunch of different directions. You may find in that workshop that the direction to take is that deeper healing space. So many different ways to work with this material once we sort of get to this, okay, I'm here, I'm holding something to work with. I know that is kind of asking this time of year that I work with it more deeply. How can I best do that? Get that workshop if that's singing to you. Reach out to me if that's singing to you. Go find some other professional if that's option is singing to you. Maybe you want to tiptoe through this because you're kind of like I do this on my own kind of person. I see you. If that's you, that's totally me. So I see that if that's you and you just want to like work through this experience on your own. I get that. Again, just in this territory, really the invitation to find your grounding, open those doors slowly, bring that curiosity. Okay. Just feeling in for a moment if there's anything else that wants to be spoken in here. I did record a full-length podcast. Just me kind of riffing, just going for it. Most of the time podcasts are more like really thought out space where I'm walking through the conversation more slowly, whereas here on YouTube's more free form, just like what wants to come through. Podcasts are more that thought out space. I recorded a podcast on this same material, looking into dark places. It's about an hour long. And a lot of it is really me just going for it. It's me feeling into the way of the world right now and just really kind of going for it with this, like, it's time. Like, the invitation is here for us to really be in these spaces where we're willing. We are willing to look into the dark places within our own selves, because it's those dark places, when we don't give them the attention they're asking for, it's those dark places that really start to fester and they trickle up, right? They don't, when we push them away, it's not like they disappear. They hang out down in our depths and they show up in unskillful ways. And unskillful behavior driven by, the darkness that we've hidden down in us is really, as the way I see it, that's what's responsible for the darkness that's so alive in our world right now. And if things are going to change, it doesn't start by getting on social media and screaming out about how much pain there is. Like, okay, maybe that post serves a purpose at some particular point in time. But if we're all doing that, constantly acting out in these emotionally charged patterns that are just coming straight from our wounds, that's not how we heal our lives. That's not how we heal our world. We heal as a whole, as a collective, as we gain this skill that is staying grounded, creating space, being open to look into those darker spaces. Once again, just one more invitation. If there's any part of you right now that's like, wants to continue this conversation, please reach out to me. Send me an email, set up a connection call, just let me know what's up. Let's come together in conversation in these spaces that can be really difficult to work through. Okay. Closing down today's conversation. As always, if you are still with me here all the way to the end, I thank you so much. I thank you so much. If you got anything out of this video, put it in the comments. That helps others see. You know, somebody else who maybe would have shut off this video at minute 2 or minute 5, you know, a comment from you saying what you got from it by watching it all the way through to the end is so helpful. Is so helpful. All right, signing off here. So many different ways forward that our paths can go from here. Wherever we find ourselves again in our next space together, I look forward to seeing you there.